Thank you, Teresa. Much of the artificial textiles end up in landfill sites and a lot enter the oceans, either through bleeding from landfill sites or through washing. Most of this as microfibers. Plastic rubbish has even been found in the deepest parts of the ocean. In May 2019, Victor Vescovo visited the Challenger Deep in the Pacific Ocean at almost 11,000 meters down, and he found sweet papers in a plastic bag. Our next presenter is Ellie Jackson, who is a children's author and environmentalist. Ellie.
Hi everybody, my name's Ellie Jackson and I'm really excited to be here to give this presentation. I've been invited along by Malcolm Hogg, your Environment Officer, to give a talk about the problem of plastics in the ocean, about climate change and habitat loss, and how the Lions Clubs around the UK have been helping tackle these issues in their community, linked in with the children and the schools in their hometowns. So it's a really exciting project and it's great to be here to share this with you. So some of you may recognise the stories and I hope that you enjoy this presentation. So my background is I've always loved nature right from a very early age, and that top right hand picture there was a scene that I was very familiar with growing up on, we had a very lucky existence on an island off the coast of Wales, and it was a very remote beach that we used to go and visit, my favourite beach in the world. And we'd go there and we'd see all this plastic. As a child in the 80s growing up, that meant nothing to me. We'd look around, it was like a treasure hunt. We'd find bottles that had come from perhaps across from Mexico. They were written in Spanish, and we'd dig around in this flotsam and jetsam, as it was called then, and we never gave it a second thought. We certainly didn't think about cleaning it up. I didn't think about what would happen to all this plastic. It was just part of the backdrop of my beautiful beach, and it was exciting, if I'm honest, to go and look through this stuff that washed up each day. You never knew what you're going to find, and we make rafts and we'd build camps and different things from all the rubbish, but we never ever considered tidying it up. So fast forward a good few years and I've always loved nature. I then became a geography teacher and environmental scientist, and I found myself moving out to Australia, and I had 4 young children, and we decided to spend a year on this tropical island up in the north of Queensland, Magnetic Island. And whilst we were there with my family, I was very lucky to witness this turtle being released into the ocean. And as she was going in, she was just she couldn't wait to get back into her home. And if turtles could spark joy and show joy, you could just imagine how she was feeling. And we watched her going into the sea. We had these 2 lines, and we made the crowd parted, down went the turtle onto the sand, and she disappeared as she was released, and that was it. And I was actually crying, and I never felt a connection to turtles before, but you just could have this sense this animal had been rescued, she'd been in trouble, and here she was going back to her home. And it was a really exciting moment. The whole crowd was cheering and everything. And my daughter at the time was 4 years old, and she said to me, "Mummy, what was wrong with the turtle?" And so we went back to the turtle hospital, found out about the problem of plastic, and for then, every time she was on the beach, she was picking up rubbish and saying, "Mummy, I'm saving a turtle." And every single piece that she picked up at age 4, she felt like that was a life saved. So she could not leave a single piece left on this beach. And it got me thinking, what a fantastic story to share with as many children as possible. And I've then developed this series of books from that one moment standing on the beach and the inspiration of my 4-year-old daughter. So I now have 4 children. They're a very instrumental part of my life with the plastic pollution. There's my 3-year-old son there doing his very first beach clean. He did it all by himself. He was very excited and very pleased with himself to have done it. And I like to get out in nature as much as I can. I'm there with my baby daughter a couple of years ago now. So from that first book about the turtle, I've then moved on. I now have 7 books in the series covering all kinds of issues. We've got balloon releases, ghost fishing nets, palm oil, climate change, bushfires, and my new book about bees, all about habitat loss. My background was a teacher, I've mentioned before, it was a geography teacher, so secondary school. So suddenly I find myself in front of all these primary children, and I cannot tell you how inspirational that is to find yourself in front of 300 or 400 primary children all cheering to do a beach clean and all cheering for giving up plastic and what can we do to help. And it's a really exciting time to go and see that from the children, and that gives you the hope and the inspiration to go away and do something about it. Over the years, I've gained in confidence knowing that my books are absolutely the best way of dealing with this issue with young children. The books have won awards, they've been recognised by Sir David Attenborough there. I'm holding up a letter from him, and Prince Charles sent me a letter to say thank you and congratulations. That's my daughter there. She had this dress made for her by this dress designer, and all the pieces of the dress came from the beach, so it was all recycled balloons that had washed up. I've been lucky to be on the local news, on the national news, and had a documentary made about the book. So it's been a really exciting time over the last 5 years. And this brings me to really feel qualified to know what children need to understand. I've got 3 different hats, really. I've got my environmental scientist and my geography and my nature loving hat, which is part of the campaigning work I do. I've got my teacher hat, so I know exactly how to get the message across, but I've also got my parent hat on, and that I think is really important, to come from that level of understanding just what is appropriate to share with young children. So we've got this problem of plastic. We've got a quote there that says plastic is wonderful because it's durable, but plastic is terrible because it is durable, and almost every piece of plastic ever made is still on the planet in some form or another. I think the example there they give is even your toothbrush you used as a child is still out there somewhere in some form or another. So obviously with lockdowns and the rise in staycations and all these beauty spots being trashed and our beaches being trashed, plastic and rubbish has been a huge problem in the media over the last 5 years. And it's been a fantastic way to engage the public with this. We've had the doom and gloom kind of articles and how dare these people ruin our beauty spots and who are they and pick up your rubbish and all of that kind of articles, but we've also had some beautiful sculptures here. We've got artwork that grabs people's attention. We've got beautiful films that have been made that appeal to a whole different audience. There's books about it, and there's even the scientists getting behind it now to come up with ways to solve the problem. And one of those pictures there is called the Ocean Cleanup, and it's this huge barrier that goes floating in the Pacific Ocean, and it kind of hoovers up and sucks in and draws in all the plastic that's floating there. So we've got a combined approach to tackle the problem. Not one thing is going to be the answer, but it's a raising of awareness coupled with technical proper solutions and a knowledge from the media as well. So it's kind of the urgency of it. But how do we teach our young children? If we leave it until they're teenagers and we can show them the graphic kind of images that we're used to seeing as adults, it's too late, I feel. You can't show a class of 5-year-olds these horrible images. They're too upsetting for us as adults, let alone young children. These are their favourite animals. When you go to the aquarium with children and the turtle swims past and suddenly, quick mummy, the turtle! Everyone rushes to the window and it's all about the turtle or the whale or whatever it is. So these animals are their absolute favourites, and to see them upset and in distress like this is absolutely the wrong way to teach the children. I had one teacher come up to me and she said, "Oh, we're really excited to have you into school today. And just before you came, I thought I'd show the children a video of a turtle with a straw coming out of its nose and all the blood going everywhere." And they all started crying, this teacher said. And I thought, well, of course they will. They're 5 years old and you've just shown them a really upsetting, distressing video. So some teachers really are not understanding the best way to deliver this message to our children. But once they do get the message, my goodness, then they're excited. So the best way is through a familiar story. We've got a picture book format with beautiful illustrations. We stick to the truth. All of my stories are true. And that's really important because children are not stupid. We get sick and tired as a parent, and I'm sure you see all these spoon-fed TV shows and cartoons, and it's just it feels like it's junk food for our children to watch there. So I think it's important these illustrations were beautifully drawn, they're realistic, and they're true to life. And actually, by teaching the children the truth, they're not stupid, they do get it, but it's how you do it in the right way. So the stories are age appropriate. They follow this little turtle who eats too much plastic. She's then rescued. We've got some interesting bits and bobs going on in the story that give you the facts about what turtles like to eat and things, and then the turtle is rehabilitated and released. And that happy ending with the ideas for the future, that gives the children the positivity of what they can do to help. So that's one of my books. I've got 7 in the series, but they all follow that same kind of format. So books is obviously one way to address the issue, education at a young age, and that gives the tools, that gives the children the tools to understand why they're doing these things. If they understand the reason why they don't drop litter, why they need to pick it up, why they need to change and use less, why are we not having cling film in our sandwiches at school? Why are we not having crisps anymore in the individual packets? All those questions, parents can defer and use the book as a kind of a tool. But there's loads of other stuff that's being done to help tackle the problem of plastic. We've got beautiful art illustrations. Look at this sculpture here. This was a huge piece of polystyrene that had washed up on the beach. And the artist, it come from a marina, a floating pontoon, had been, in a storm. The artist had seen potential in this huge piece of polystyrene, whereas everyone else would have just seen it with horror and probably left it where it is. And he collected it and took it home, and he carved it into this amazing sculpture of an Easter Island head. And he then stuck it painstakingly with tiny, tiny pieces of plastic that he'd collected. And he collected something like 11 million pieces in one day. He had to invent a special machine to collect these microplastics. And he then painstakingly put them onto this head and stuck them down. And of course, you think, oh, what a great sculpture. But when you understand the reason behind it, the Easter Island head, and of course the Easter Islanders had to leave their beautiful home because they'd used up all the resources and trashed their island, suddenly gives it more meaning. So we've got the art there to grab people's attention. We've got all kinds of different ones. You've also got these amazing volunteers who literally every time they go out for a walk, they cannot stop picking up rubbish, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And this is a group of scuba divers. They go underwater and clean up known fishing areas of fishing line and hooks and nets on wrecks and different things. So they're amazing what they do. I've learned a lot from them. We've also got, these are called the Ghost Net Busters, and it's a team of volunteers who go around Cornwall and they take chainsaws down when they're called to a net of this size, because look at the sheer size of some of these nets. They're absolutely enormous. They weigh a ton and they keep on causing trouble for hundreds of years, because obviously they're made of plastic, they're durable. And the problem with the fishing nets, of course, is you get this cycle where the nets are lost or abandoned or dumped at sea, and they're designed to catch fish, so they catch small fish, and then the small fish attract the bigger fish, and the bigger fish get trapped, and the bigger fish then attract the mammals, the larger mammals and the sharks. They then get trapped in the net, and the weight of all those animals then slowly sinks that net to the bottom of the seabed, where it's scavenged by the crabs and the lobsters, and then the net becomes clean and light again, and back up it floats, and it starts the process all over again. So these huge nets are a massive problem in our ocean. This man here, Rob Thompson, he's actually worked out a way of collecting the fishing nets, and then he sends them off to be recycled, and they're melted down into pellets, which he then uses to reform into making these kayaks. And he then takes those kayaks out to fish, to find more rubbish. So it's this whole circular economy going around of finding a purpose for these nets to actually go round and be reused again. So that's the story, that's the books. How are the Lions helping in this? Well, it's been absolutely incredible what the Lions have done, and it's been a hard task to reach all the clubs, because it's all through either word of mouth or through zone chairmen or district governors, or through me contacting individual clubs, or sometimes someone in a town will ask for the books for their school, or the school can't afford them, and I say, have you considered asking the Lions to help? So the Lions clubs have been instrumental in helping almost 500,000 children learn about this issue, which is just incredible. So that's thousands of schools across the UK. I think I've got there 1,800 schools just from the Lions alone, and that's not the half of it with the Books into Schools project that I run. But basically the Lions clubs have sponsored these books into their local schools, but then what this has achieved has been fantastic. So not only have the books then gone into the schools, but sometimes the Lions Club, if you've got particularly active members in the community who like public speaking, who like going into schools, or perhaps they're ex-teachers or teachers, or parents or grandparents who feel confident going into schools, well then that can open huge doors for the Lions Club to build those links with their local schools. So we've got an example here. The Bodmin Lions Club came into a school that I was doing a book reading with, but we also then managed to get ITV news team to come in and film us as we did the whole presentation, and that went out on the evening news. So that was great to get the Lions Club and the school and the local news all matched up there to help talk about this issue. But what the children have then been doing is they've been writing letters to local businesses. You imagine a class of 30-year-olds, not 30-year-olds, 30 children, 8-year-old children perhaps, writing to their local cafe or their local chip shop, asking them to stop serving the polystyrene containers for the chips that they come in. Well, if you're the business owner and you suddenly get all these letters, I wonder if that might make you stop and think. And it works. This is what the business owners have been telling me. I went into a pub and I said, I'd like to talk to you about plastic straws. And they said, let me stop you there. I got a letter from an 8-year-old. It made me feel so guilty. I've switched everything to paper. That was a few years ago, but you get the idea. It was these children reminding the adults of their responsibilities. And that is really powerful, because nobody likes to be told what to do by another adult. So if you've got the children, reminding us of our responsibilities. So by getting the children involved, it's an active, it's a positive way for the community, and the Lions can be involved in that. So we've now got something like over 100 Lions clubs, mostly, if you can tell from this map where I live, it's from the southwest in Cornwall, but we've got the books into every primary school in Cornwall, in Devon, we've got lots in Somerset, I've got lots over in East Anglia. So slowly but surely we are getting there. And it would be fantastic to get your club involved too, not only with the books side of things, which would be a great community project for the club, but also what can the club members do to help. So it can follow on. If you get the books into the schools, you can then follow up and perhaps suggest to the school you do a community clean-up. This could be in your local grot spot, or your local park or a river or the beach there. This club here, I think, has got branded high-vis Lions Club jackets there, and they invited their local school and they did a whole beach day down there, which was fantastic. And there's lots of things the individuals can do in the club as well. You can promote or choose plastic-free at your events, and you can do this through your newsletter and your policies and different things. So you can actively choose not to be using single-use plastic for your events. And that most towns most communities now across the UK have got some kind of environmental group involved in the community, and this could be a plastic-free community, it could be environment, it could be a town team, but if the Lions can get involved and help support with that, then even better. We're also getting some great publicity with the Lions clubs there. You deliver the books into schools, you get the children out to pose with the photos with the books and the teachers and the Lions clubs, and then you send it off to your local paper, and it's a really good positive result there. So this is, in a nutshell, what this project is, how incredible the Lions have been in their support for the project, and what a difference it makes. And I'm just going to finish here now with, I remember I showed you that picture at the beginning of my favourite beach when I was a child growing up in the 80s. And I took my daughter, we came over from Australia for a visit, and this was the same daughter who'd inspired me to write the book. And I took her back to this beach for a visit, and I was so excited. I wanted to share with her my favourite beach. And I stood at the top of this cliff here, and we looked down, and I said, "Here, look at my amazing beach." And she said, the first words out of her mouth, aged 5, she said, "Mummy, what a dump. We've got to go down there and clean it up." And that was absolutely the difference from a generation, and to have that education and that knowledge. So down we all went, we did the beach clean, they collected all this stuff, and that is the power of the stories, the power of the knowledge, and what the inspiration of the children, and that actually they really want to do this. They couldn't wait, my kids, to get down there and tidy up this plastic. So thank you so much for helping with the project, those clubs that are involved, and if you do want to find out any more, please do get in touch through my website. It's wildtribeheroes.com. And each of the books can be tailored to the club with the logo, the Lions logo, and support and press releases. It's all done. So that would be fantastic to get your club involved to help your local community. All right, thank you very much and goodbye.
Thank you, Ellie. We started the environment section with a presentation from the younger members of our Lions family and have now come full circle with the need to educate our youngest members of our communities of our responsibilities to our natural world. You now have an opportunity to ask questions.